What was your life like growing up, your upbringing?
Oh, wow. So my life was, I grew up poor from what today's standards are. You know, the wonderful thing about growing up without any money is that I knew I could make things. So for me, I never thought about buying things. I just made everything I needed. So that was one great thing that came up. But I grew up in a situation where my dad was a bipolar alcoholic, my mother was addicted to pain pills, and my dad was very violent and verbally abusive to my mother. They got divorced when I was 10. I was molested by my stepfather at 12. And left the home when I was 18, and I actually started my first business, and I got married too. So by the time I was 20, I was married, bankrupt, and divorced by 20 years old. Okay, I mean, that was like, whoa. And then when I was 21, tried to kill myself, and 23 in an abusive marriage. So most of my life was literally, you know how like you go skiing and you lose a ski at the top of the mountain? That was most of my life. Just tumbling downhill, being, I thought, at the mercy of life, right? I was just like, shit, man, if I can just get a grip, if I can just do something. So I was really fighting and clawing my entire life just to make money to survive.
Right.
You know, they always talk about thriving versus surviving. And when you're in that situation, you're like, yeah, sure, I wanna thrive. But are you kidding me? Like, I just wanna keep my head above water right now. So that was my life. And I got that final pause when I filed bankruptcy the second time, and I really gave up. I wanted to kill myself again, but because I had children and a family, I wasn't going to do that.
Yeah.
But I was done. I was like,
so what, I mean, looking back, what are the lessons that you think that that came out of all of that?
yeah, really resiliency. I'm extremely resilient. Also, a really strong, my friend Marie Forleo talks about a figure outer muscle. Like, I developed the strongest figure outer muscle. Like, put me in a situation, dude. Like, I can figure it out, right? So that was really good. Anytime I hear anyone, as a matter of fact, with a tough life, I look at them and I'm like, okay, this is great. They're resilient. They can figure it out. There's some strength and courage. Courage in there, right? Just to face the next day takes every ounce of courage you can believe. So if you can actually harness all of those skills, get out of the trauma a little bit, get a breath from the trauma, and harness that, like, it's incredible rocket fuel.
You're absolutely
I love people
right.
with the tough life.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, I even say with someone who's an addict, who is, you know, in functional addict, depending on how someone wants to determine that, meaning the ability to do things and still be an addict, as an example, or a criminal, or just someone that has had so much shit they're dealing with in painful levels, it requires an enormous amount of ingenuity and resourcefulness to be a good addict. You know, in order to lie, cheat, and steal in certain ways, you know, it requires some coordination. And like what you said, if you can harness it, though, and I think successful entrepreneurs, so much of it, I see more the really successful ones financially and really accomplish a lot. Most of them are not inspired individuals. Most of it came from adversity and just difficulty, but they have somehow managed to parlay that into pain into progress, pain into productivity.
Oh, I like that.
And so it's interesting, and that's, I always like trying to figure out how did it, you know, what flipped the switch. You know, when you have failure, suicidal, when you come from such a background, you know, how can you convey that in a way to somebody to where they can say, oh, I can learn from that, because, you know, everyone's going to learn from their experiences to a degree. And when I say learn, it doesn't mean they'll actually do anything with it. They're going to get hit with it. But to be able to, a real genius is learning from the experiences of others that are painful without having to go through, per se, that thing. Although everyone goes through their own pain. Everyone has their own shit. I mean, there's no one out there that, you know, if you like someone or dislike a successful person, what you cannot take away from them is it didn't just fall in their lap. Everybody had, you know, what was the Marie Forleo's thing again? The figure outer muscle or something. Figure outable. I think that's her things. I always called it a figure outer muscle before I met her. That was one of our connections. I'm like, oh my God, I always said I had a strong figure outer muscle. Because you get yourself in enough shit and you figure it out, right? It's like, I can figure it out. What I do in my company is I teach my employees how to figure it out. There's so many solutions, so many
easy solutions I come up with. They'll be in a big problem, and I'll say, you know what, I know what to do. I really do. I'm going to walk out of the room. I'm going to give you guys an hour to figure it out.
Yeah,
right? Figure it out, because what happens is if I keep solving the problems, my muscle's getting stronger, but theirs isn't.
Right.
And I want them to develop that same muscle.
Yeah. Well, it's funny is that we never even discuss this, but I've known Marie Folio for years.
Really?
Becoming more connected with your business, becoming more connected with yourself, with others, because that's what I'm hearing is you became. So what does the word connection mean to you?
Yeah, it means engaged. It means like locked in. For example, with employees, I tell people, if you haven't grown professionally and personally when you're in this company, I haven't done my job. So we're not just about professional development. That's why we bring in these radical coaches. We're going to talk about feelings. People are, we do it with our whole company, and it's amazing the transformations that happen, but that's connected, like we're locked in and we're dialed in with you. And we're here. You're committed.
Yeah.
And let's do this thing. And it's so funny. Like somebody will say, we'll be in a meeting and they'll say, I feel really angry. And this reminds me of when my mom was, when I was young. And we're like, okay, go ahead and process that, and then we'll move on. Like that's the way we're doing things.
Yeah.
Because it really is. There's no difference. Someone just said there's no business problem. It's a personal problem. Who said that this morning? Yeah, that's it, right? So there is no problem within our business that doesn't go down to our core.
Totally.
And I'm not interested in making a ton of money. I do. And it's amazing. It's an amazing outpouring. I guess I am interested because it happens. But I'm interested in my own personal development and personal development around people around me.
How did you deal with failure, and what advice could you give to entrepreneurs going through difficulties or struggling? Because certainly you've had a shit ton of that.
Okay, I'm going to try to explain this because I had a download about this a couple of months ago.
One of those
and
downloads.
It's one of those things that sounds so simple, yet it's so profound, I know, and I haven't quite at the magnitude. Okay, so I saw success and failure, what we consider success and failure, like as a yin and yang, like this energy. And what I saw was that at the same rate you fail, so the amount of failure that you put into, let's just say failure is the black, part of the yin and yang, it's the yang part, and the success is the white, that the amount of energy that you put into that failure is the amount of energy that you can have in success. And I suddenly saw why my life, I'm like, my God, most of my life was failure of what people consider, right? So now I've had the success that's so big. And then I thought back to like a concert violinist. Think about how much failure there is and how many years. That's the 10,000 hours. Those 10,000 hours aren't 10,000 hours of success, right? So there's something energetically that I haven't quite figured out, but do you guys understand what I'm talking about? So I think that we should all be aiming for failure all the time, lots of it. Lots and lots and lots and lots of failure. Because I believe that we have a natural propensity to learn. Yeah. And that we're not going to, it's just like, fire. Like we naturally know not to do things, and that is going to actually increase the magnitude of your success.
Yeah. No. Every time you're willing to put yourself out there, you're building that muscle. And by doing that, you develop an endurance and a stamina that cannot come any other way.
Right.
You can't just think yourself into successful entrepreneurship. You have to just do shit.
Yes.
You don't build a great reputation by talking about what you're going to do. No. You build a great reputation by doing shit that ends up leading to a great business or a great whatever.
Yes.